All right, good morning, everyone. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jeremy Clifford, and I'm here to talk to you today about Community Service Day, which is coming up on Monday. It is one of my favorite events of the school year, and you may not know this, but Monday will be our 20th consecutive Community Service Day event. Yes. Okay, because I'm a math guy, I could not help but try to do this calculation. So I tried to think about, well, how many hours of community service have we put in over those 20 community service days? And my brief estimate was roughly 50,000 hours of service over the last 20 years. Pretty darn good. Yeah. So, you might ask yourself, why is community service an important part of the education and the curriculum we offer here at Taft? I thought about this a little bit over the summer, and part of it came from a book that we read. So you guys had a summer reading assignment. You all had to read Persepolis. But you may not know that faculty members also had a summer reading assignment. Mr. Mack picked out a book for us. It's written by the president of Wesleyan. It's called Beyond the University. It's about liberal education in America, kind of a history and a defense of why it's important in modern society. Now, Mr. Mack and I probably have a different view of what constitutes a good summer reading book. You might recall I'm the faculty member who sponsored Divergent as the summer reading assignment. Yeah. So, to me, a book where there were more citations than there were page numbers is not a good example of something that I would typically consider summer reading. In fact, a book with any citations in it at all would probably, fall off the Mr. Clifford, typical summer reading list. But nonetheless, when I was done reading my, teenage post-apocalyptic dystopian fiction, I did open up this book and take a look at it. And it talked about two important parts of what constituted a good, sound liberal education. So one of them was the ability to think clearly and critically and being able to see problems from the perspective of others. Mr. Hawes talked about that actually at his meeting last week. And I think we actually do a very good job of that at the Taft School, and I think it's clear in most people's minds what parts of the curriculum help you work on critical thinking. The second part, though, of education, which is maybe something we don't think about quite as often, is that education is also a process of discovery. From an early age, the goal of a good education ought to be to expose you to a wide variety of academic subjects, philosophies of thought, types of art, athletics, different ways of thinking, so that as a young person, you can look at all those kinds of things, evaluate them, and begin to try and understand for yourself what aspects of study are you most interested and passionate about. And looking back at my own high school experience, it turns out for me that of all the various things I did in the curriculum, math, English, economics, whatever, it was actually community service that was probably the most helpful thing for me in terms of discovery, the discovery part of education, of learning what I was passionate about. So we'll go back in the time machine and we'll think back to 1989, so roughly 25 years ago. I had my 25th high school reunion this past year. So I was a senior in high school. Laura Monty was a senior here at Taft. I would meet her only 6 months later, by the way, when I was 17 and she was 18. So you never know, guys, yeah. The person for you maybe you've already met them. You never know. So I was 17 years old. I was at Regis High School in New York City. Many of you know Regis on the Upper East Side. Many of you live near there. And I was in a very similar situation to probably what a lot of you guys are. So I was taking my regular senior classes. I wasn't teaching AP Economics at that point in time. I was a student of AP Economics. It was the first year the College Board offered AP Economics. I was taking AP Calculus. I was taking all the normal kind of senior things. I had applied early to Yale in the fall and had gotten waitlisted. So I was kind of like, had to apply to all the other places, and come winter time, I was just sort of hanging out, waiting to hear from colleges. situation that is, very familiar to various Taft students. And so at that point in time, I was trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do with myself over the next 3 months, and what am I going to do as I start making the transition towards college? And an opportunity came along where Regis offered final trimester seniors the possibility of doing a community service internship full-time instead of attending classes in the last few months of the school year. So I said to myself, why not give that a shot? I'm kind of, been through all the class things now. I'm waiting to hear from colleges. Let's do something and just give that a try. So I signed up for that, and I was assigned to work at a school, the De La Salle Academy. It's on 97th in Amsterdam, although they're moving in New York City. And I worked there as a teacher's assistant for the last 3 months of my senior year. Didn't really know too much about what I was getting myself into, just decided to give it a shot. And when I went there, it was really an experience that changed my life. I found out that I really had a joy and a love for teaching. I worked as a teaching assistant in a middle school math class. I found out that I greatly enjoyed teaching math, and I was fairly good at it for a new teacher. And it sort of gave me a sense of, hey, this is something I could actually see myself doing down the road. So I graduated from high school, going on to college, and sort of thinking to myself, hey, when I'm at college, maybe I could find some type of similar experience, because I really enjoyed teaching and working with kids. So as luck would have it, the basement of Bingham Hall, which is my freshman dormitory, I'm down there doing my laundry, and there happens to be an organization whose office is in the same basement called the Ulysses S. Grant Foundation at Yale, and it ran a program that offered after-school tutoring to New Haven kids and also ran a full-time summer enrichment program. I said, wow, that sounds exactly like the kind of thing I was looking for. So I applied to do that, and I was the only freshman that they took that first year, and that was really because I had just recently had experience teaching in that same type of setting, and that may be a pretty attractive candidate. So I worked on that all through my freshman year of school. I did that for my summer after the first year, and by the time I was a sophomore, I was one of the more experienced people in the organization. Plus, everyone knew I was going to be an economics major, so I could kind of run the business side of things, and they made me the program director as a sophomore. So I was then responsible for managing a whole bunch of Yale students who were the teachers in the program, setting up the whole summer program, recruiting the students for it. I actually gained, through my volunteering, a great amount of experience in what it's like to run and manage an organization. When I got to the end of my Yale career and was starting to think about, okay, what am I going to do next? I was really kind of in a quandary, because I had my friends who were doing teaching and volunteering were applying to places like Teach for America, looking into education programs for grad school. But all my economics major friends were looking at applying for management consulting, investment banking, corporate management, all those kind of things. And I decided at that point in time, I think I want to try the business side of things for a while, see what that's like. It was a little more financially lucrative, had to pay off those student loans. So, and I decided, I'll keep doing this teaching thing, but I'll do it, like I have been doing. I'll try to do it as a volunteer activity on the side. And I did that for a number of years. I worked in management consulting for 3 years. I went back to business school. I worked at Capital One doing credit card banking for a number of years. And at each step of the way, I worked for corporations that were very supportive of community service and gave me a chance to do some volunteering, Friday afternoon here and there, work with kids in the various schools. And then I finally got to a point one day where I'm like, I actually am enjoying my time going into the schools and working with the kids more than my time sitting back in the office in front of the computer, working on the spreadsheets, etc. And that's when I ultimately decided to make the transition from a career in business to a career in teaching that ultimately brought me here. So when I look back on my whole experience and think about, again, this whole idea of education as a process of discovery, well, what was it in my high school education that most helped me discover what I was interested and passionate about later in life? Again, it was really that community service opportunity that exposed me to an area that I probably otherwise wouldn't have looked into. And it also gave me a lot of skills along the way that were helpful even when I was applying for corporate jobs and trying to work in the business world. And so, as we think about this upcoming Community Service Day event, okay, I hope you have a wonderful time on Monday and have a great project to work on, whether it's big or small, you're working with kids, you're outside, whatever. But even more so than that, my hope is that you use this Community Service Day we have on Monday as a springboard to consider other service opportunities at the school. No matter what your situation, how much time you have available to devote community service, we have so many types of things that work for a lot of people. You could do the one-off type of volunteering at the soup kitchen on a Friday night. You could go on one of the spring break or summer trips to Guatemala, the Dominican Republic, or all those other kind of places. You could sign up for volunteering as an X if you want. You could work at our summer program where we do SSAT tutoring for local kids. There's so many different kinds of things to get involved in. And my hope is that for some of you, you'll find that experience of being involved in service something rewarding, and that maybe opens up some opportunities for you that you might not have considered, and perhaps even becomes one of the great passions and things that are important to you for the rest of your life. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful Community Service Day. Take care.